What's up, CineNerds? We're back, and I am JP Cross.
And I'm Ryan.
And just like last week's episode, CineNerdsPodcast.com. You can get all of your CineNerds needs there. All of our episodes are there. All the links to for our audio listeners, for our video watchers, everything's there. Our reel link is there. We're doing reels. We're still doing that stuff. We're going to keep that stuff pumping out between me and Ryan. And yeah, and there's a shop, and there's all kinds of stuff on the shop. What's on the shop, Ryan?
Oh, hoodies, t-shirts. I think we might. I'm really thinking about those pajama pants. She sent us those example pajama pants, and they're really comfy. I'm not gonna lie. So, coffee mugs. I love my coffee mug. Lots of stuff, and it all supports not just our local business, but another local business that is the merch store. So, you're helping two small businesses, and you're appreciated. Um, Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, on that note, though, on that website, you have the ability now to check out, I think it's like 105 episodes. I think this will be the 105th. So we've got a shit ton of episodes up there proudly. We're creeping up on 2 years of doing this now. So definitely get in there and check it out. Look at all of our movie titles and check out some of our reviews. Give us some comments, some feedback. We'd love to hear.
What I was going to add, we have signed Senators posters by me
Oh,
and
yeah.
by Ryan. I forgot to talk about this on last week's episodes. So I have the posters here, but Ryan had them printed. So I do have the posters. Hopefully by now, the time we're talking in this episode being released, hopefully I have them up, a link up on our website to where you can actually purchase them through our website. I'm going to try to get that done this current week of where we're filming, so hopefully it'll be up right now. If
And
if not, I will be making a post on how you can actually get them if I don't get them up on the website by right now. So, but signed posters by me and Ryan here, and uh, $10 and they're yours, so they're there.
there's only 25 of them, only 25, so, that's our first run ever of prints, and so, it'll be really cool. That helps support us too, helps us, keep funding this and building this wonderful little podcast up.
Also, and I'm not trying to plug myself here. However, if you would like a killer's confession signed print of me, I've actually got some of those on order. They should be in by now or within the next week of now. And I got 50 of those that I'm going to be selling. So if you would like a AKC print with yours truly's face on it signed, I'll have those as well.
Which one did you get made?
The up close shot
Oh,
with
I
the new
love that. So that
with the new mask.
yeah, so I was just telling him that he should use that one too, so I don't know who's the photographer that took that?
That was a random fan just snapped a shot on his cell phone. You're there.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
You froze up on me completely. That was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, you glitched for a second, but yeah,
Why
it was a
while we're talking about this, I was gonna say there's a massive snowstorm outside right now, so
yeah. So yeah, it was a random fan. It was actually a cell phone photo. It wasn't even a professional photographer, and I just rogued that photo from him because you know what, it's of me, and I took it. So yeah.
fuck yeah. No, it's a great picture. And so if you guys are able to get your hands on one of those, I highly recommend it. You won't regret it.
Alrighty. So this week I had Ryan watch my pick, which was Alma and the Wolf. And your initial impressions of this one, what'd you think of this one?
All right, so I mentioned it last week on when we did Strange Darling. So this movie, I actually text JP as soon as I was done watching this, and I go, "That was fucking dark and depressing." Doesn't mean it's bad, but holy shit, this is like so at this point in our lives, we're all adults. We all have fucking childhood traumas, right? This fucking triggered so much childhood trauma for me. Holy alcoholism. Anyways, this movie revolves around essentially an alcoholic father, his pressure on his son to be what he couldn't be, and it was really intense. This movie was a lot. It was similar to me as Strange Darling too, because there was a certain point. where I was, like, maybe a third of the way in, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening? Like, what is going on? I can't keep up." Like, it was so fucking crazy, and, it started coming together slowly but surely, and, I kinda had a read and a guess of what was happening, about 2/3 in, and I was right, but I didn't expect the result that we got. So I was pleasantly surprised and liked this movie a lot for my first it was my first watch. I bought it for 6.99 on Fandango.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if, because I know you like to try to figure out the ending. I was wondering how long the ending had you confused on where it was going to go.
No, yeah, I so we'll get into what happened at the ending. I don't wanna just say it off the rip.
Yeah, no, no. I was curious on how long it took you to figure it out, not really giving the ending away. So yeah, I'm happy you said it took you little time to actually get there.
How many times have you seen this, and what was your initial impression?
So this is the second time I watched this film. I watched it the first time after right after it hit digital this year, and again, did not watch the trailers. I actually watched this movie on a blind watch because I read an article on a new Ethan Embry movie. And I was like, "Oh, I like Ethan Embry. I'll watch this. This looks interesting enough. It looks low budget, but it looks interesting enough." So I bought it on Fandango when it first came out, and I I even posted about this. I did a reel on this, and I think I even made a post about this movie after I watched it, and I made a reel on this back in October, um, praising this movie. How much I actually really kind of enjoyed this movie, and how it's just an under the radar film that not a lot of people seen. Um, so my first watch, I mean, yeah, I walked away from this movie like wow, this is like some Edgar Allan Poe modern day film type thing is the vibe I got from, which kind of coincides with you saying this movie got real fucking dark. Um, and
Was to that point, you said Poe, was this a book?
I don't think it was, but to me, it has the elements of a lot of Edgar Allan Poe writings,
Because
with how it plays out.
well, I didn't dislike it, so don't misunderstand what I'm about to say, but I actually think I might prefer this as a book, honestly.
Maybe
Yeah,
this actually would probably be a really good book if it isn't. I know very little about this movie, and there's not a lot on this movie out there. Um, so like there was, I can't find anything budget wise. Where I know I'm jumping ahead, because that's we usually talk budget towards the end of the film. I couldn't find anything budget wise. Obviously, nothing theatrical release because I don't. This didn't get a theatrical release,
and
and
I like to look up the trivia things too in IMDb, and
there's no
it may be
trivia.
first. Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's very little to nothing on this film to even know much about it other than it's out. It's out there. Ethan Embry. If you don't know who Ethan Embry is, he was in Empire Records. He was in National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. Like he was and he was in one of my favorite TV series, Freaky Links, back in the early 2000s. Um, yeah, he was a young child star, and um, his later career hasn't been very kind to him, I don't think. So I was pretty kind of like Devin Sawa. I was glad to see him come back and doing something. So that was why I actually watched this film.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because the amount of times I hear the name Ethan Embry, and I'm like, I don't have a face with that. Like, I need to see faces to connect names. And so, like, when I looked him up, without even seeing the movie yet, I looked him up. I'm like, oh my God, that's fucking right off the rip. I know who that is.
Yeah,
And all the way into his childhood career.
that's Rusty from Vegas Vacation. It's
Yeah, I mean, well, I think what's the Empire Records was
Empire
definitely my
Records. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I always think Empire. I think Empire Records and Freaky Links before National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation, but I think of all three of them when I think of him.
You know what's funny is when you told me about this movie, I thought you meant, and I haven't seen this one. I've had this in the queue forever. Another Asian woman, but it's called Uma, just UMMA. And I thought you meant that movie until I saw Alma and the Wolf actually looked it up. But
Yeah, so I generally like this film, and I watched it again last night, and well, I watched half of it last night as I was going to bed. And then when I started felt my eyes getting heavy, I cut it off, and I actually finished the second half this morning before we recorded last week's episode and this episode. So that was my second watch, and I had fun, same as the first time I watched it. So
I'm gonna make a public declaration right now. I'm going to change my location for the next filming, because I am literally within 10 feet of my cat's litter box, and both the cats in 5 minutes took giant dumps, and all I smell is shit, and I'm kinda pissed.
so we're gonna be filming for the next hour while he smells cat shit.
I'm gonna light a candle. Actually, I got a candle right by you. We'll be safe. We'll get through this, but I'm gonna have a talk with my cats. I've been having a lot of talks with my cats. Okay, they're. I keep telling them how soft and spoiled they are because I want to throw them out in the snow and just watch them pull their paws up in terror. All right, so Alma and the Wolf. This movie is. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Oh,
actually just looking up a plot summary, and there's not
you,
a very long plot summary. It's basically set in the Oregon coast. Troubled police officer Ren Accord investigates a mysterious wolf attack. Matters escalate when his estranged son vanishes during the case, which is a very vague.
It's very vague. So to me, I would have summed this up as, I mean, and it gives away a little bit though, but it's an alcoholic has a psychological break and things get out of control.
Mhm.
And that's my quick synopsis. But
Yeah.
but going into this though, I didn't know, like, again, I didn't watch trailers. I didn't know what I was getting into. I'd never heard of this movie, honestly, other than knowing that JP had done a review on it. I saw it, but I didn't watch the review because I knew at some point he spoke so highly of it. I was like, he's gonna make me watch it. I'm gonna stay off this. So, other than that review, knowing about it and knowing the name of the movie, I knew nothing about this, and I'm going into it. I'm thinking it's a werewolf movie, even based off you can see on our
Mhm.
screen, you can see the cover of the movie. I thought this was a werewolf movie. Nope. There is definitely a wolf, and it is definitely intense, and, the way that you are made aware of what's going on is also equally intense. So
And the same for me. Because like I said, I didn't watch trailers. I read a brief, like, article on this film, and I went into this film blind, and I thought it was going to be a werewolf film as well, and there is a wolf. There's a wolf, and there is a werewolf figure, and there is goat and sheep figures, uh,
which you
but
find out why at the end, but that was another part of it that really so that when we get to it, there's a sequence at the end, and it kinda explains the goats, but it also opens so many more questions because it made the movie not as simple as I thought it was.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah, and this movie starts with, Ethan Embry's character, Ren. He's a sheriff deputy, and he's driving down a road, and he runs across Alma covered in blood and holding a wrapped up, and I believe it was supposed to be a wrapped up goat, dead goat, because she's saying that there's wolves. Or what was it?
I thought it was her dog. I thought it was the corpse of her dog.
Maybe it was but there was a whole thing about how her goats were being killed by the wolf. So I thought maybe it was a baby wolf,
No, no,
or
no.
maybe baby goat.
She said the goats came toward her, and the goats were with the wolf, and they attacked her dog.
Got you. I
Yeah,
misinterpreted that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes a little more sense because I thought that's a tiny fucking goat that she's
yeah.
carrying. So that makes more sense. But she's covered in blood, and he takes her to the station. She's covered in blood. He's doing an interview with her, try to figure out what happened, and it just kind of it takes off. It really just kind of takes off from there. I mean this movie is intense and start to finish for me. More so than last week's episode was Strange Darling. This film was more intense for me, start to finish.
So, there was an element of this movie that reminded me of, and hear me out, American Psycho. Because in American Psycho, there's a point where Patrick Bateman, you don't know who he's actually killed, who he hasn't, what's in his head. It's very puzzling. You're like left kind of like, wait a minute. So did that actually happen? and I had a lot of those moments throughout
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
The Alma in the beginning, so Alma's played by Lee Jun Lee, and I watched an interview. Actually, it was more of a podcast between Jun Lee and Ethan Embry, and it was pretty cool to see them going back and forth and kind of talking about their characters and what they did. But in this movie, though, they played off each other very well. I was kind of I'm not gonna lie, I liked because my wife is a saint. I liked the crazy ones, and she was coming off like one of the crazy ones, and I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right." But it definitely took a 360-degree turn, and I was thrown back. So you start off with what we clearly see after Alma and has gone to the police station, and she has basically told her story, thought that everyone was going to think she's crazy, and she makes Ren promise that he will kill the wolf that has killed her dog. Her dog was her only friend. So he says, "Yeah, whatever." He just promises her, but he doesn't like. It doesn't seem like it's a sincere promise. Just kind of like, "I want to shut her up and get past this." And so from there, he goes with his partner to the high school field, the baseball field, where his son is pitching a game, and they discuss how uh, even when Alma's in the police station, they talk about high school because it's a close, small community. But Ren used to be a high school baseball star. He had an arm, and he was great at what he did, and he was looked up to at that time. So he's kind of got this Al Bundy kind of thing going on, where he can't escape high school. High school's that was his peak, and he fucking felt great about that. And he wants his son now to be what he couldn't, essentially. So him and his partner, they go underneath the stands and they chase these kids out, and they've got a bottle of bourbon, or they got a bottle of, or they got like a 6 pack of beer, whatever, and him and his partner grab beers. They have a beer. They're watching the game from underneath the stands. They're popping back the bourbon. And but he's going a little more intense. Like there's the partner just had the one sip of the beer. The Ren is like chugging the bourbon and drinking the beers. You see, there's a kind of hesitation when he approaches his son after the game to congratulate him. His ex-wife walks up. It's super uncomfortable because you can see this man is clearly not in the right state. He's hiding alcohol in his cup too with his it looks like a big slurp, if you will,
Mhm.
and he's hiding alcohol in it. So there's just a lot happening right in this first half hour.
And there's also a lot of scenes, and I think that this is one of the ones where he goes and he hands his son a red balloon,
Yes.
and that's very symbolic of for the ending. So the red balloon kind of comes up here and there. Um, so yeah, there is this odd red balloon, and you're like, "What's the significance?" You're thinking, "What's the significance of this red balloon?" Because it just makes there's not a lot. It doesn't make that much sense.
Is this another movie they're going to tie into Welcome to Derry?
And that's how it could be played off. Like, seriously, because I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, why is he carrying this red balloon and giving it to a high school senior? Like, that's like little kid shit. Like, and I thought, man, is Pennywise going to pop up in this? Is he going to be the werewolf? What's going on? Uh,
I say that in jest because like I text JP after I was watching the I think episode 5 of Welcome to Derry, and we're finding out this is a prequel story for the gentleman who's the person who watches the hotel in The Shining. And then there's elements of Shawshank too. There's so many things happening in Welcome to Derry that who knows? There could be 20 more movies.
Cool.
There's no yawning in baseball. What the fuck's going on there, JP? He yawned for those of you who can't
I
see.
yawned. I'm tired. I'm all tuckered out.
We're recording a couple movies today, and in between, I just made a pot of coffee because I was in the same spot.
Um, so one thing I'll say about this movie, and you talked about watching an interview with them too, or a podcast interview with them, Ethan Embry and the girl that played Alma. Um, I didn't watch this. I would actually be interested in watching that because two of my takeaways from this film with them because they're the main cast essentially, and not just well. Yes and no, but he is definitely Ethan Embry's character is like the main character. He's throughout this film, pretty much every shot he's in. Um, one of my negatives on this film is it's a negative and a positive, I guess, because the interactions between Ethan Embry and some of these people, like I can feel the emotion coming from Ethan Embry, but then at the same time, it's almost some of the dialogue and some of it just isn't. It's not up to par with how the actors were in Strange Darling. Is where I'm going to go with this. Those actors in Strange Darling, they were fuck. I said it last week. They were top tier. Those guys need to be in bigger, better films. Where the actors in this film, it's a very low budget film. We don't know the budget, but we know it's a low budget film. Are just a bit above what you would expect for the budget. You know, um, not as good as what the guys did in Strange Darling. And it's not saying that Ethan Embry and everybody in this film didn't do a great job. It just after watching Strange Darling and then watching this directly afterwards, I can see the level of acting difference between the two films.
Um, Lee Jun Lee, who played Alma, I do feel that her acting was definitely not anything over the top or anything great. It wasn't bad, but it
No, it
wasn't
wasn't
great.
bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad.
Now, I will plant a flag on the hill of Ethan Embry did a great job.
Yeah, no,
I
he
think,
did. He did. He showed a lot of emotion in this
oh my,
film.
I mean, and rightfully so when we get to the end, and we'll go over that. But holy fuck,
Um, let's talk about some of our favorite scenes rather than dissecting this. Uh, let's just kind of jump around. So one of my favorite scenes in this whole film, actually, were segment. I'm not even gonna say scene, segment in this film is where Ethan Embry's Ren and his partner go into the woods. They're looking for his son. His son has disappeared, and they get lost in the woods. So they end up making a fire and sleeping in the woods. Well, Ren wakes up, and the town drunk is in the middle of the woods, and he ends up attacking him and um, killing him because you believe that there's a almost like a virus. There's a virus going around that's changing people that he believes the wolf is causing all of this throughout this film. So I love this scene, but then it even escalates even more where he figures out that he's like, you got to go over here, and he ends up on a boat going to this island. You see this island where this werewolf and these goat people and sheep people are, and just the imagery. And you see Alma, and Alma's like on this throne, and Wolf is on this throne. The imagery is so fucking good in this
yeah,
whole segment.
Alma's on that throne after the wolf. They like swaps bodies almost, and I think that's where he thinks he's losing his mind. I think that he is convinced that this wolf can take on anyone's appearance, and the way that it's like shape shifting back and forth because it's almost like when something gets too crazy, he's like, "You too?" Like, it's almost like, "Oh, no, this person's in that wheelhouse. They're one of them," or, he just feels like he can't trust himself or what's going on around him. No one will listen to him either. He's tried telling his partner, he's tried telling his chief. They all think he's losing it, but they think it's because his son's missing, and, they genuinely feel like he wants the best to find his son, but also they have questions. You can see that it's lurking. But yeah, no, that throne scene is, it's pagan imagery at its best, if I have to be honest.
Yeah.
It's something I would expect to see almost in the movie or in the TV show Vikings. Very, very cool, very, very detailed. I love the detail on the throne and the way that the fire uplights the wolf.
Hmm.
Gives a lot of depth, I think, to that wolf. The wolf itself too, like at first, the first time we see the wolf, I kind of like that scene too because you don't see the wolf right away, you see one of the goats, and they're the four-horned goats, I forgot the specific name of them, but he's in the road, he gets out of his car, Ren, and he goes and he looks at the goat, and he's like, Where's your buddies at?" Because 'Cause he's been told that there's more, and he turns around because he hears something, and there's another goat behind him, and then he turns back to look at the other goat, and that one's gone. Then he turns back, and the other one's gone, and it's like it's messing with him. Then he sees the wolf walking or the, actual wolf walking into the woods, follows it, and or no, he chases it off, that's what happens. He
Hmm.
chases it off, It says, "Get out of here, go!" And he turns around for a second, turns back, and now there's a giant ass wolf standing there staring at him. And I wasn't expect. I'm thinking, I'm still thinking it's a werewolf movie at this point. And all of a sudden, this thing started like I was almost be like, I was waiting for him to be like, "Hey, Chuck, how's it going?" Like something out of Beetlejuice
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
Well,
And
even go ahead.
God, no, I was just gonna say it took me back a second when this thing started talking to him. It kind of changed the tone. I didn't know what was happening.
Well, and even the throne scene, and it's showing Alma, it's showing the wolf on the throne, then showing Alma on the throne. Like my first time watch of this film, I was thinking, is it taking like you? I was like, is it supposed to be in telling you that it can take the form of other people? Is it going to take the form of her, or is Alma the wolf? Is this telling me that Alma is the wolf? Like there was so many questions, even for me at that moment. With what was I kind of thought maybe we are still in a werewolf film. Is this where this is going to turn? Uh, so I mean, there was a lot of questions. I questioned a lot back and forth the first time I watched this film.
Yeah, and I think this one's kind of the flip for me from you last week with Strange Darling. This one to me, the first 50 minutes was a little bit painful. It was hard to keep up with. It was hard to understand what was happening. But once I got to that 50-minute mark, not 50-minute per se, but midway, let's say, it definitely started coming together. And then as I understood what I had been watching now, I felt a lot better about it.
Yeah, and the start of this movie after everything with Alma, he's going on a date with Alma just to kind of get you caught up because we jumped to
Bow, chicka,
kind of the
bow,
middle
wow.
of the film. He has a date with Alma, but he's supposed to have that evening with his son, and his son tells him, "No, you got a date. Go on your date." And then it shows his son walking up the road with his dog, and uh, the dog gets grabbed, what you're assuming is the wolf and whatnot. And then the next day, Ethan Embry's character wakes up from a phone call. He spends the night with Alma, with coming to the police station that his son's missing. So everything about this film up to towards the end is him trying to find his son. He believes his son is still out there. He believes the wolves have drug him off or something, and he is trying to find his son. And so that leads us back up to the throne scene with him uh, attacking the drunk in the middle of the woods, and then the whole throne scene with him with the wolf and Alma, and then during all this, he actually wakes up in the woods. So it's like, well, is this real? Did this happen? What's going on? So
Yeah, no, there's this is where things start getting a little edgy. I mean, we see what JP was talking about the virus aspect. So this is that questionable window for me. This is that where I don't know what was in his head and what wasn't. But this is where like everyone that came in contact with him or another person, they touch each other and they start throwing up and vomiting and they were ill and they looked sick and were speaking in tongues almost not literally, but kind of backwards and crazy. And it got to the point where everyone was in that mindset except for him and the chief then tells him to run ahead. And I'm like, what's going on again? I had one of
and
those moments.
yeah, so that whole scene you're talking about, I fucking love that scene. So Ethan Embry goes into the police station. They are arresting him for the murder of the drunk because they find his fingerprint and blood all over the moonshine jug for that character. I believe that character's name was Ashley. The drunk, the drunk's name was Ashley, I think.
Yeah, it was the drunk. I thought the wait,
Yeah,
who
in
am
the
I?
woods. The remember?
Oh yeah, the guy Ashley. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I believe the drunk's name is Ashley. It's a guy. It's not a girl. Um, so they are arresting him for uh, basically the murder of this drunk because they found his fingerprints and everything on the jug, and for the disappearance of his son because they believe he's involved. And so they handcuff him to a desk. Well, the sheriff's daughter comes in. She works at the front desk and she is sick and she starts vomiting. And and she's going mad. She's going crazy. And this is a very So to me, it's a very intense scene. Like she's starting to attack him, then all of a sudden she gets sick again and she collapses on the ground. And there's a transformation scene, and this transformation scene is actually pretty cool. With her back, her spine like extending, and her skin ripping. And it doesn't show the full transformation. Basically, it shows that, and then all of a sudden, blood's pouring out of her skin ripping. Then you see a burst of blood, and she gets up as this goat human goat figure. And then the other officers are, well, I'm starting to get
Yeah.
sick, and they
Everyone
start,
that's infected turns into these goats.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they start transforming into these goats or rams or sheep, what they are. Um, and then the sheriff and Ren, Ethan Embry's character, go into this back room and lock themselves in. These goat figures are trying to attack him, and they go into a big speech about, oh, well, they got their guns drawn, and and they're going to fight their way out. Well, as soon as they have their guns drawn, the sheriff says, "Oh no, I'm getting sick," and he starts puking, and then he looks at Ethan Embry's character and says, "Here, get out through the vent." He's like, I'm going to turn. Let me do this for you now so you can get away and you can stop this virus and you can stop this wolf. And so that was what that whole scene was for me. I mean, it's a really cool transformation and scene and psychological bullshit going on.
But up to that point, like, so now I'm fully that's what I think this is like the 2/3 mark for me. This is where everything, like, flipped and I started getting everything coming together more clearly, but up to that point, though, I literally thought we were gonna go down, like, Evil Dead road. I thought that's what we were looking at.
It definitely felt like, especially the girl, with her
Mhm.
going crazy and psychotic, even like the
Well,
look of her face, almost reminiscent of like an Evil
sh
Dead film.
she cleaned, the vomit from Ashley the day before, and that's what spread it, and then as that vomit started getting spewed when she came into the station, everyone else started flipping, so yeah, I was like, "Okay, so are these, like, deadites? Like, what is this?" Now they're turning into goats. Is that what they are? I don't so, at that point, I thought we were looking at Evil Dead world, but then
Yeah.
b bizarreness gets deeper. Um, as that's all happening, unfolding, we move into we kinda you kinda see him just falling apart. You kinda see him starting to unravel, and he's starting to question the things that have happened so far. So I don't know. Where's Alma in this moment?
Well, they said that she's the one that had turned him in on a lot
Right,
of
right.
stuff. And there was actually a scene before that where they were like, he had spent the night with Alma again. And he wakes up and they're like, hey, Alma's at the station. She's told us you've done this, basically outing him on all this stuff. But Alma's in the bedroom. How's she there? And all of a sudden, Alma's character gets up from the bedroom and she comes running through the house with her head on fire and attacking him.
And so that's where, to me, like, I was like, "Okay, this dude's having a psychological break." And what's crazy to me too is that the reason the psychological break is happening is both A, he can't handle his separation from his wife, his son not doing what he wants, because his son wants to be a musician. That's another big thing too. His son wants to be a musician. I don't know why anyone would want to be a musician. That's just horrible. Any anyways, uh, the, uh, the son wants to be a musician. He doesn't want to be a baseball player. He care less about baseball. He's doing it for his dad. He wants his dad to be happy and proud of him, and his dad is, but his dad also is, like, trying to get him to go out, find the big school, go to wherever, next level, next level. But between the son not doing what he wants, the depression of the breakup, um, his life's kinda in turmoil in general, and the alcohol on top of that, you've got a psychological break that's happened. So a lot of this all of this that we've seen so far is in his head. But the flip of it is he is the wolf himself.
Mhm.
And that's where things get even crazier is that what we saw in the beginning of the movie with Alma in the police station talking to him in his sheriff's uniform really wasn't what was happening. What's happening is he was covered in blood. He was in the police station talking to Alma,
Alma.
who is yeah, who is the sheriff. And so it's he literally has flipped the role in his head. He's even living in Alma's house. He doesn't have this house that he thought he had. And or what we are told is Alma's house. I don't know if Alma was ever there really. Um, so it because I don't even think they hooked up or were a thing. I don't know. That
No,
was
no,
it,
I didn't, and I understood that that was all in his head.
but there's a weird moment when they take when he gets killed because he gets killed, he gets shot, and he's coming out of his house. There's a weird moment where you see her face, and it's almost like she has emotion. She's got vested attachment to him. So I don't know if maybe she was going out in a wing and a prayer, leap of faith, and maybe she started to talk to him, and he cannonballed in his head. That's the thing I did like about this movie is I was constantly like, "Well, what about this? What about this? Why'd this happen?" I was asking so many questions, and I like that when a film brings me in, it makes me invested
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and, it all leads up to that, and you find out that, like I said, the roles were actually flipped. Almost the sheriff, and he was the one that was walking down the street, and it goes back to another flashback, and it plays out what happened with his son. What really happened with his son was he was drunk and met his son while his son was walking his
Well,
dog.
before that flashback, though, he wakes up in that house and he sees his son's body. He sees his son he had gone
Yeah,
back to the water, gotten his son's body, and his decomposing son is sitting there looking at him with white eyes,
and his
and
son's
he
hold and
starts
his son is holding that red balloon. He's
yeah,
sta he sat him there with the red balloon.
and that part right there, that emotion in Ethan's face, Ren,
Mhm.
is it's heart-wrenching. It's a lot because he
Yeah.
realizes and that's when those flashes, the flooding all comes in. You see him, not the wolf, approach his son to kidnap his not kidnap, but take his son, when the son was walking the dog. You see him, uh, he makes his son go skinny dipping not skinny dipping, but swimming
Swimming,
late night.
swimming.
I was at skinny dipping be really
And
weird.
and he gets him into the lake water and says, "I wanna play a game." It's the wolf and the weasel. Every time you lie,
Which
the wolf puts you underwater.
which is also, reflective of your first encounter with a wolf that Ethan had in or Ren, I keep saying Ren, because when he first encounters the wolf and it's talking to him, he says, "I am the wolf, you were the weasel." And so we get to that, and you've now flipped the script completely, and he
Mhm.
says, "Let's play that game," and it brings you back to that moment.
And
Um,
and at that point, Ethan Embry gets angry because he's drunk. He is completely loaded. He is drunk and playing this game with his son, angry about finding out his son isn't going to college to play baseball. He wants to be a musician. And so he starts dunking him under and he ends up drowning his own son. And you find out that Ashley, the town drunk, was at the pier when this happened. And that's when he actually gets up onto the pier and kills
and
Ashley.
And if I wanna take that further, I kinda think that Ashley wasn't a drunk at all. I kinda think that, he was deflecting his own, view the way that people viewed him as the town alcoholic. I think he was reflecting and projecting that onto Ashley. Because when Ashley came up and saw that the son had gone under the water and he's floating there and he's like, "Hey, do you need help? Is everything okay?"
Mhm.
Like, he
Yeah.
seemed sober as can be. He didn't seem like he was drunk at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, all this plays out. So you find out that Ethan Embry's Wren character is the wolf. He is the killer. He's killed his son. He's killed Ashley, and he comes out surrounded by police. And Alma's asking him, stop, stay where you are, put your hands above your head. Is your son in the house? And then you see the emotion, kind of what you were saying. You see the emotion in Ethan Embry's face, and it's gut wrenching. He's like, yeah, he's in the house. And you're asking, is he hurt? And he breaks down. They go to arrest him, and who has been his partner through this whole film is the one that's handcuffing him. And while he's handcuffing him, he grabs his gun now, and it cuts to black. So I understood this as Ethan Embry blew his head off. He shot himself because the only thing it kind of cuts to black, and then it opens back up, and blood splatters on Alma's face.
JP, it's 2025. He unalived himself.
That's fair. I fucked up. It's unalived because the censors don't like the other words. So he unalives himself. Is how I understood it. I don't believe Alma shot him, but it
No,
does.
you see the exit, wound because they do show his body laying down,
Yeah.
and you see the blood splatter,
Mhm.
and he did it. It's self-inflicted, it looks like.
And
And
I love the imagery with him on the ground with the blood splatter and brains up above his head and the blood coming out of his mouth and, like, his eyes still twitching some, like, it was a very great imagery of him dying and his death there.
like, the only reason I kinda lean towards that for certain it was him is because myself, if I found out that I had subconsciously even hurt one of my children, I'd do the same thing. Like, that it
Yeah.
just I they that's yeah, that was it was deep, and then but we go from there to go ahead, JP, talk about your red balloon.
You see Ethan Embry walking over a mountainside holding his red balloon.
Now, what that means, I don't know, because his son's dead too. I mean, is he because he committed suicide, or he unalived himself, and his son has passed too, so I don't know if he goes to hell, I don't know how all that works, I don't know anything about the afterlife, but, uh, that also is one of those other things you're like, does he get to find his son again as a sober, soul, entity, energy, whatever? So this had a whole lotta things to unpack as you're watching it, and it's not easy if you grew up in any kind of a traumatic childhood experience, especially involving alcohol, it's not easy to digest. It really isn't.
And where this and my connection with, like, Edgar Allan Poe is kinda like the Telltale Heart and things and writings like that with Poe. This film really shows, like, this guy by the end, okay, you understand that he killed his son, he killed Ashley, he done these things, but at the beginning of the film, it kinda shows, and if you look back from the end, it's like he reinvented his perception of what actually happened to cope with what he did and his descent into madness, and that's where it kinda I feel the Edgar Allan Poe feel vibe comes for me with this film.
I can understand that. I kind of look at it a slightly different way. So when you have liquor, we refer to liquor as spirits. So you're ingesting spirits, right? And I feel like he had a alter ego of obviously the wolf, but like an angrier, darker side of him when he was drunk. So the alcohol, the spirits made him into something he wasn't. So I don't think it was necessarily all descent into madness per se. I mean, it is, but I don't know. It just, man, it's a lot to digest.
Yeah, this movie is a lot to and like I said, it's intense. This movie is fucking intense. Like, for me, it was intense start to finish, you know? Maybe not for Ryan, but for me, it's start to finish, this movie.
I am not by any means a heavy drinker. So used to be, but I don't drink like that anymore. I'm like 2, 3 beer guy. And I don't even do shots or anything like that. But this movie even made me have the like creepy crawlies about fucking having a beer too. Like, cause I love my kids more than alcohol. And like
Mhm.
that this dude clearly loved the alcohol more than anything.
Alright, so we've already talked about the budget. We do not have a budget for this film. We don't have
No,
anything on this film.
and I looked further, it said they are not publicly available. The budget is
Yeah,
not.
yeah. So review. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right. So this one is another one. A lot Strange Darling from last week and this movie have a lot of similarities to me as far as they're kind of chopped up movies that come together to form a whole. And the way they're doing the storytelling is to keep you engrossed, to keep you wanting to know what's going on and building you towards that inevitable end. So this one was a little bit harder for me to follow in the beginning versus Strange Darling last week, and so those pieces I wish they would have been a little bit tighter. But once I got to where I needed to, I understood what was happening. I appreciated it more. Ethan Embry really does a great job as the main character. He's kind of your protagonist and antagonist because in his head he thinks he's a good guy, but his dark passenger, if you will, is not. So this movie has so many twists and turns, so many questions. I don't see me watching this again personally, but not to downplay this movie as a quality movie. It's an amazing movie, but it's also like for those of you who know the movie Doom Generation or Requiem for a Dream, it's not quite that dark, but it's up there. It's really up there. So I don't like watching movies that leave me feeling like super depressed or super like dark. So as a whole, this movie was not bad. I'm gonna go with 3.1 nerds for me.
Okay, so you landed with this one like I did with Strange Darling because that's what
Let
I
let
gave her.
let's see where you land. Because if we flip, that'd be hilarious.
So this is the thing with this movie. And I've said it. Was invested in this movie start to finish. Not just the first time, the second time. Even though I watched it in half one night and half this morning, I was completely invested in this film. I love this film. I love the imagery of this film. This film is beautifully shot. Now, I will say, Darling, the shots were way more beautiful than this film. This film is dark, gritty, and the imagery is really fucking cool. And it's a different type of film when it comes down to it. Um, I fucking just, like I said, I just stayed on the edge of my seat the entire time, even my second watch. And this film has a fucking, I don't know, it hit me with just a special place in my heart, first time I watched it this past year. And I was blindsided because I watched it without knowing anything about it, and that made this film even more impactful for me. So I love this film. And for a low budget film, I will actually go as far as say, I don't know if this is going to make my top list for the end of the year, but this is one of my favorite films, I believe, of 2025. I really, 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 really love this film. We'll see where it actually lands or if it does land on my top five list at the end of the year. However, I'm going to give this a 3.9. And I
We
wanted,
literally flipped.
we literally flipped. And the only reason I decided not to give this a 4 was because there's moments of some of the dialogue and again, like some of the acting wasn't up to par with kind of like Alma. Now, Ethan Embry, I think fucking nailed it. I think he was great. I think if he had some better actors around him, this film would definitely be a 4. Um, and not saying that the actors and actresses did a bad job in this film. I think everybody was great in it, but it just wasn't up to the level of acting that we talked about in Strange Darling. But for me, I latched onto this film more so than Strange Darling. So we flipped the script on where we rated both of these films, and but that's why. And I would actually put this into the fours that had that
So
one little element be there a little better.
so the one thing I will kind of push back on a little bit, you didn't say anything horrible about it, but like you thought that you liked the 35 millimeter filming from Strange Drawing a little bit better than some of the camera work for this. I will say this. It's filmed in Oregon. So like you've got these kind of gritty, kind of hazy, almost rainy, if you will, or wet scenes because the just where it's at.
Mhm.
So I wasn't put off by it, and I really thought that it was actually good imagery for what we got to see.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's great imagery. Like I said, I think it's just not as beautiful as Strange Darling, but it's gritty. It has a grittiness, and the imagery in this film is fantastic.
Gotcha.
All right, recommendations. You got any?
Yeah. So, as you guys know from the reels, I probably we're filming this a different time, but I would have already wrapped up the Prophecy franchise. I moved into another franchise. I went into Planet of the Apes, and I watched the 4 most recent ones because I only watched the first 2, and I wanted to see what the other ones were about. And the first 3 were great. They were all focused around Caesar, and then the 4th one was revolved around an ape named Noah, which my son is named Noah, so I get to call him a little monkey for a little bit. It's kind of fun. But they were surprisingly entertaining, and they're better than I anticipated. I really thought that I was going into not be happy and not walk away with feeling like I watched a good movie, and I was wrong. So Planet of the Apes, the new 4 ones, new 4 of
A-
them.
And I haven't watched that new one that came out. Like, because wasn't there one that came out like last year?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've not watched that one, and so actually, if you count the James Franco one, there's 5, right?
No, so James Franco is in, I think it's Rise. There's Rise, uh, no, wait, I forgot, there's just Dawn, isn't it Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the
Yeah,
Planet of the Apes, War for Planet of the Apes, and then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes,
okay.
and Franco's in the first one of those.
Yeah, Franco's in the first one. For some reason, I thought that there was 4 before this last one that came out last year, but so maybe I'm wrong, but I definitely have not watched the last one.
If you're it's not part of the franchise in canon sense, but the Mark Wahlberg one is the one that
Yeah.
came out that was separate.
Yeah, I knew that one was separate because that one was done by wasn't that one done by Tim Burton or somebody?
I think so, and you know what? I am such a f people are gonna give me shit about this, but I don't mind that one. I thought that one was great,
No, I didn't mind it. Yeah, I think the cast was great in that one too, so
for sure.
but I do need to watch that new one because I do enjoy the Planet of the Apes movies. So, I'm going a different direction for my recommendation versus his franchise of Planet of the Apes. Um, I'm gonna recommend a new movie, a new remake
Oh,
movie.
no.
And I like this movie just because it's done very low budget and very 80s style. The new Death Stalker remake. And I don't if you were a fan of the 80s movie, Death Stalker, well, they did a remake. And it's done by the same guys that did Psycho Gorman. So you got the guys that did Psycho Gorman doing the Death Stalker remake, and it feels very reminiscent of like Psycho Gorman meets the original Death Stalker film. So if you like the original and you like Psycho Gorman, check out this new Death Stalker remake. It's pretty fun. It's bonkers,
Bonkers.
bonkers. All righty. Until next week, and next week we're going to get into our Christmas episodes, and I think I've got scheduled
Jack Frost.
Jack Frost because I debated on doing your movie next week, but I felt like your film was better for a closer to Christmas and a Christmas episode versus mine. So Jack Frost next week, and then we got Gremlins after the week after that.
And you know why we have Gremlins? Because it's a fucking Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie, and that's why I opted. A lot of times, if you look, I usually try to rotate mine and Ryan's picks, but I'll switch it up every now and then if something makes more sense to land on a holiday or something. Gremlins made more sense than Jack Frost for Christmas.
I like having fun with these movies where, like, if we have questions about if movies are Christmas movies or not. Somebody posted a picture of, what the fuck was it? Of Rambo when he's in the police station and there's a Christmas tree behind him because it's Christmas time, and they're like,
It's a
"Rambo's a
Christmas.
Christmas movie."
It's a Christmas movie.
I don't that one I'd have to rewatch really, but I won't consider that one Christmas.
And to add, next week's episode is the horror film Jack Frost, not the Michael Keaton family film Jack Frost.
I mean, it's JP's pick. I think we all pieced that together.
You know, in video rental days, people didn't know. You know how many people families rented the horror film Jack Frost and not the Keaton Jack Frost family film and went home
That
and
would have been
played that. That happened a lot.
awesome.
That happened a lot. There was a lot of complaints about that back in the day because they both came out at the same time.
That's awesome. I would have loved to see, Sally and Bobby sitting down to watch the PG version if they get that. You know what? I will tell you this, either way you're crying because you get a subpar kinda B horror movie, or you get Michael Keaton dying and his son having to just wallow in sadness.
All right. Till next week, Jack Frost, CineNerdsPodcast.com. Posters. Remember the posters, signed posters. We're going to have those up for sale.
Only 25.
So only 25 of them. And I'll have my personal AKC ones up soon, too. So those will be free. Not trying to plug myself, but I'm trying to plug myself. All
Alright,
right.
guys.
Till next time.
Later.
Later.